The Fox News anchor announced last night she's taking a vacation, just a day after apologizing for her online battle.
Laura Ingraham's departure from Fox News marked one of the most unexpected and consequential moments in the network's recent history. For over 2 decades, her presence had been a defining feature of conservative primetime television, shaping political narratives, sparking national debates, and building an audience that trusted her unflinching voice. When she finally revealed that she was leaving Fox News, the announcement sent ripples through the media landscape. Not only because of her stature within the network, but because of what her exit represented about the evolving state of conservative media and American political discourse. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. Ingraham's reveal came with a calm confidence that mirrored her on-air persona. She spoke with the same poise that had guided her career, offering no sensationalism, no dramatics, just the straightforward acknowledgement that her time at Fox had run its course. The moment she confirmed it, viewers could almost sense a collective pause. After years of delivering her nightly program with sharp wit and unapologetic opinion, she was stepping away from a platform that had both elevated and defined her. It wasn't merely another anchor changing jobs, it was a symbolic shift within a network that had built its identity on the voices of a select few, Ingraham among the most prominent. Her exit immediately sparked speculation about timing and intent. For someone who had weathered controversies, advertiser boycotts, and political storms, Ingraham's decision to leave suggested something deeper than fatigue or dissatisfaction. Many wondered if this was her way of reclaiming independence, of stepping outside the confines of cable news to explore new opportunities. The modern media world had changed dramatically since she first joined Fox, with digital platforms now offering personalities unprecedented control over their content and audiences. For someone as seasoned as Ingraham, leaving might not have been a retreat. It could very well have been a strategic repositioning. To understand the weight of her decision, one must consider her role in shaping Fox News' identity. Laura Ingraham was not just a commentator, she was part of the network's ideological backbone. Her show, The Ingraham Angle, consistently ranked among the top in cable news ratings, drawing millions of viewers who admired her blend of intellect and conviction. She had mastered the art of turning complex political issues into digestible, emotionally resonant commentary that resonated with middle America. Whether she was challenging liberal narratives, questioning establishment Republicans, or defending traditional values, she spoke to an audience that felt increasingly unheard by mainstream media. Her departure leaves Fox News without one of its most consistent and articulate defenders of cultural conservatism. Ingraham represented a particular brand of conservatism, rooted in faith, family, and a firm belief in the moral underpinnings of American society. She was not merely a pundit delivering nightly commentary, she was a cultural warrior engaged in a broader struggle over the nation's direction. Losing such a voice at a time when political polarization remains at fever pitch inevitably alters the balance of voices at the network. Inside Fox News, her exit may have triggered both reflection and recalibration. For executives, the question immediately became how to fill a void that cannot easily be replaced. Ingraham's show wasn't just a ratings success. It was a symbol of stability amid the shifting sands of cable news. Her presence reassured loyal viewers who saw her as an anchor of principle. Any successor stepping into that time slot faces an immense challenge, not only in retaining the audience but also in living up to the credibility and personality she brought to the table. What made Laura Ingraham unique was her ability to blend the personal with the political. She often spoke from lived experience, referencing her Catholic faith, her role as a mother, and her journey from radio to television. These elements humanized her commentary, turning what could have been just another political show into a personal connection with viewers. That connection is not easily replicated. In a media era increasingly dominated by algorithms and analytics, her authenticity was her greatest strength. Her leaving also underscores a broader transformation within conservative media itself. The ecosystem that once revolved around cable news has fragmented. Audiences now seek commentary through podcasts, YouTube channels, Substack newsletters, and social media platforms where voices can speak without corporate filters. For Ingraham, whose career began long before such technologies existed, stepping away from Fox could signify a recognition of where the conversation is truly moving. The megaphone of influence has shifted, and perhaps she intends to use her next chapter to embrace that change rather than resist it. The announcement inevitably reignited public debate about Fox News' future direction. The network has weathered numerous changes over the years: high-profile departures, internal shakeups, and shifting editorial tones. Each transition reshapes how it is perceived by the public and by its loyal audience. Ingraham's departure, however, carries a particularly emotional resonance because she represented a voice that bridged the intellectual and populist wings of conservatism. She could quote constitutional theory one moment and channel the frustrations of working-class Americans the next. Her ability to navigate those dual worlds made her indispensable to Fox's identity. There's also a symbolic dimension to her exit that speaks to the evolution of political commentary as a whole. The cable news model, once the dominant force in shaping political opinion, faces existential pressure from independent creators who can reach millions without the mediation of traditional networks. Laura Ingraham's decision to leave could reflect a generational shift, a move from network dependence to individual brand independence. In this sense, her choice is both an ending and a beginning. The end of her long tenure at a legacy media giant, and the start of a new era where her voice might resonate even more freely. Her colleagues, friends, and critics alike would recognize that Ingraham's career has never been about playing it safe. From her early days as a speechwriter in the Reagan administration, to her rise as a nationally syndicated radio host, and then a Fox News powerhouse, she built her brand by defying expectations. Her confrontational style, sharp intellect, and unapologetic patriotism made her a lightning rod for controversy, but also a rallying figure for millions who felt alienated by the cultural mainstream. That she chose to walk away on her own terms only reinforces the independence that has defined her public life. For the conservative movement, her exit from Fox may have deeper implications. Media figures like Ingraham are not merely commentators, they are thought leaders who help shape the tone and priorities of political discourse. Without her nightly presence, there's a gap in the narrative architecture of the right. She provided a platform for discussing cultural issues, education, immigration, free speech, that extended beyond party politics. Her absence may push Fox News to tilt more heavily toward the day-to-day grind of electoral politics, leaving less space for the kind of cultural reflection she championed. Her audience, too, will feel the void. Loyal viewers had developed a nightly ritual around her program, tuning in not only for political insight but also for reassurance and inspiration. Ingraham's manner of addressing her audience felt intimate, as though she were speaking directly to their frustrations and hopes. The bond between a television host and an audience is unlike any other form of connection. It builds gradually through trust and repetition. When that bond is broken, even voluntarily, it leaves an emotional residue. Viewers may search for her elsewhere, eager to follow her next endeavor, but the familiarity of her presence on Fox's stage will be missed. Her departure also opens a broader conversation about the trajectory of television journalism. The nature of trust in media has shifted. Personalities now matter as much as, if not more than, institutions. Laura Ingraham's name carried weight independent of the network she worked for. Viewers tuned in for her voice, not merely because of the Fox News logo in the corner of the screen. That individual-centered loyalty is both a testament to her influence and a challenge for traditional networks struggling to maintain brand identity amid a splintering audience. Behind the scenes, her decision likely involved careful deliberation. After years of working within a high-pressure environment, producing nightly content in the age of social media scrutiny, the toll of constant visibility cannot be understated. Yet, her calm and deliberate tone when announcing her exit suggested peace rather than burnout. It was the choice of someone who understood timing, who knew when to exit a stage gracefully rather than linger until forced out. That sense of agency defines her professional character as much as her commentary ever did. Ingraham's journey also reflects the tension many media figures face between institutional loyalty and personal conviction. Fox News gave her a platform and an audience of millions, but networks inevitably come with editorial boundaries and corporate considerations. As the media environment becomes more polarized, maintaining independence of thought within a structured network can become increasingly difficult. By stepping away, she may have freed herself from those constraints, allowing her to speak with even greater candor and flexibility. What makes this moment particularly striking is how it coincides with a broader shift in American conservatism itself. The movement that once united around certain core values has splintered into various factions: populist, traditionalist, libertarian, nationalist, all vying for narrative dominance. Laura Ingraham's exit from Fox occurs at a time when that internal debate is intensifying. Her voice often served as a bridge between these competing strands, offering a vision rooted in moral clarity rather than factionalism. Without her as a nightly mediator of ideas, the ideological ecosystem may become even more fragmented. There's also a generational undertone to her decision. Ingraham belongs to a generation of media personalities who came of age before social media defined the rhythms of political conversation. For decades, television was the primary stage of national discourse, but today's media influencers often operate independently, leveraging direct-to-audience platforms. Her departure from Fox might symbolize the end of an era, the transition from centralized media empires to decentralized networks of individual voices. In many ways, she's closing a chapter of broadcast history, even as she hints at the beginning of a new digital frontier. Her legacy at Fox, however, will endure. During her years on air, she hosted countless politicians, intellectuals, and cultural figures, engaging in spirited debate while maintaining an unmistakable command of the issues. She didn't simply report, she interpreted, framed, and contextualized events in ways that shaped national conversations. Whether discussing immigration reform, education policy, or the role of faith in public life, her voice carried both authority and conviction. That combination of moral clarity and media skill is rare, and it helped make the Ingraham angle one of the network's most consistent performers. Even as her critics accused her of partisanship or provocation, Ingraham maintained an internal consistency that commanded respect. She believed deeply in the principles she articulated, and her commentary reflected a coherent worldview rather than opportunistic positioning. This intellectual consistency is part of why her audience trusted her so profoundly. They may not have agreed with every argument she made, but they knew it came from a place of sincerity. That authenticity is difficult to replicate in a media culture often driven by outrage and clicks. Her decision to leave Fox also prompts reflection on the personal sacrifices behind public success. Hosting a nightly television program demands relentless preparation, constant awareness of current events, and the stamina to perform live under scrutiny. Ingraham managed all of that while raising her children and maintaining her commitments outside the studio. Her departure might represent a desire for balance, to reclaim the time and privacy that constant visibility erodes. For someone who has achieved as much as she has, such a decision reflects strength, not withdrawal. Within the industry, her move is likely to influence how other high-profile commentators think about their careers. As more personalities explore independent paths, launching podcasts, online shows, and digital platforms, the precedent of a figure like Ingraham leaving one of the biggest networks in America reinforces the idea that personal brand power can rival institutional reach. In an age of subscriber-supported media, her loyal audience ensures she can continue to have influence beyond traditional television. Still, her exit raises questions about Fox News' internal direction. The network's lineup has evolved through cycles of turnover, but losing a primetime fixture like Laura Ingraham could alter both its ratings landscape and cultural tone. Will Fox pivot toward younger, more social media-oriented hosts, or seek another established figure to fill her place? The answer will reveal much about how the network envisions its future amid shifting viewer habits. From a cultural standpoint, her departure resonates beyond television. Laura Ingraham became a symbol of the broader conservative intellectual tradition, a reminder that politics is not just about policy, but about values, culture, and identity. She articulated a vision of America that emphasized tradition over trend, substance over spectacle. As she steps away from the bright lights of cable news, that vision remains her enduring contribution. Her decision may also serve as a kind of mirror, reflecting the public's evolving relationship with media figures. Audiences today are less passive, more participatory. They follow hosts across platforms, engage directly on social media, and expect authenticity rather than performance. Ingraham's future endeavors, whether writing, podcasting, or perhaps even building her own digital platform, will likely capitalize on that new dynamic. She leaves not as a relic of cable television's golden age, but as a pioneer charting the next frontier of independent commentary. Laura Ingraham's announcement that she was leaving Fox News was more than just a media headline. It was the unraveling of an era that had intertwined her voice with the network's identity. Her name had become a fixture in the nightly routine of millions of Americans who turned to her for a mix of conviction, intellect, and sharp moral commentary. Now, with her departure, the question wasn't merely where she would go next. It was what her absence meant for the tone and direction of American conservative media itself. The moment she declared her intention to leave, there was an unmistakable sense of transition in the air. Fox News had already experienced major changes over the years, some voluntary, others abrupt, but Ingraham's exit carried a distinctly symbolic weight. She had not been forced out by scandal or ratings decline. She had chosen to step away. That choice made it different, almost poetic, as though she had sensed that her mission at the network had been fulfilled. There was something intentional about her timing, as if she understood the rhythm of her career and the larger media landscape in ways few do. Her influence extended far beyond the confines of her time slot. For decades, Laura Ingraham had functioned as both a broadcaster and a cultural interpreter, helping to translate complex social and political developments into narratives that resonated deeply with her audience. She was among the few voices who could weave faith, family, and policy into a single thread that connected with viewers, not only intellectually but spiritually. Every segment she hosted carried with it a sense of moral urgency, the belief that the culture itself was at stake, and that she was there to defend its foundations. Her departure, therefore, leaves a vacuum that is not easily filled. In a media landscape dominated by immediacy and outrage, Ingraham's gift was her ability to slow down the conversation, to give moral framing to chaos. Her voice wasn't simply reactive, it was interpretive. She could take a moment of national confusion, a court decision, a political scandal, a cultural controversy, and articulate what it meant for the deeper American story. Without her nightly guidance, millions of viewers may feel a kind of disorientation, not because there aren't other voices on the network, but because few have the same combination of intellect grounding and instinct that defined her commentary. In many ways, Laura Ingraham's rise mirrored the evolution of modern conservative media. When she first entered broadcasting, the conservative voice was still fighting for equal footing in a landscape dominated by establishment outlets. Over time, through persistence and clarity, she helped legitimize that voice, proving that conservatism wasn't a fringe ideology, but a coherent worldview worthy of mainstream attention. Her shows didn't just discuss politics, they articulated a cultural vision. Through this, she became both a storyteller and a strategist, crafting narratives that would echo in political discourse long after the segment ended. Her decision to leave then represents a kind of generational pivot. The old media world, the one dominated by appointment television, curated networks, and editorial gatekeeping, is giving way to something decentralized, personal, and fluid. Laura Ingraham, with her deep understanding of audience psychology, likely recognized that the next phase of influence won't come through a single channel, but through a mosaic of interconnected platforms. In leaving Fox News, she may be freeing herself to navigate this new environment on her own terms. It's difficult to overstate what that independence could mean. For decades, cable networks served as the ultimate arbiters of political legitimacy. To be on primetime television was to have a platform. To lose it was to fade from national consciousness. But that's no longer true. The digital revolution has inverted that hierarchy. Now, personalities with established reputations can command audiences larger and more engaged than entire networks by speaking directly to their followers. For someone like Ingraham, whose authority is grounded in decades of trust, the possibilities are almost limitless. Her career was also marked by a rare blend of intellect and instinct. Trained as a lawyer, she brought an analytical rigor to her commentary that distinguished her from many of her peers. Yet she balanced that precision with an emotional intelligence that allowed her to speak to ordinary Americans in language that felt genuine. It was this duality, scholarship and sincerity, that made her so effective. She could quote constitutional principles one moment and connect it to a mother's concern about her children's education the next. That bridge between the abstract and the personal was her greatest gift, and it's what made her indispensable to her audience. Her show had become more than a platform for political commentary. It was a reflection of her worldview. Every segment, every guest, every editorial decision bore her stamp. She approached broadcasting not as performance, but as mission. She saw the media not just as a space for reporting facts, but as a battleground of ideas, a place where moral clarity could confront moral confusion. Her voice was never neutral. It was grounded in a sense of right and wrong that gave her arguments both passion and purpose. When she revealed her departure, longtime viewers and even critics found themselves reflecting on how much of an imprint she had left. For many conservatives, she had been a guiding compass, someone who could articulate their frustrations and hopes when the broader culture seemed to ignore them. For critics, she was an adversary, sharp, formidable, and unwilling to yield ground. In both cases, she mattered, and that is the measure of influence that few achieve. Her exit also signals an important turning point for Fox News itself. The network has long been known for its ability to produce and maintain strong personalities, figures who are both journalists and cultural icons. Yet the challenge of the modern era lies in the sustainability of those personalities. Each departure, whether voluntary or forced, reshapes the chemistry of the network. With Ingraham gone, Fox loses not only a host, but a symbol of its intellectual credibility. She brought depth and seriousness to her commentary that counterbalanced the more combative tones of other hosts. Her absence could subtly shift the network's overall voice, perhaps pushing it further toward reactive commentary rather than reflective analysis. Laura Ingraham's influence, however, extends well beyond ratings or political alignment. She helped redefine the role of women in conservative media. At a time when female voices were often sidelined or tokenized, she stood as a figure of authority, intellect, and fearlessness. She proved that a woman could be both nurturing and uncompromising, both moral and combative. Her confidence wasn't performative, it was rooted in conviction. Young women entering the field of journalism, particularly those with conservative leanings, often looked to her as a model for how to assert strength without sacrificing authenticity. Her departure also raises intriguing questions about legacy. How does one measure the impact of a broadcaster who spent years shaping public opinion? Is it in the ratings, the cultural influence, or the number of minds changed? For Ingraham, it might be all of the above, but perhaps her truest legacy lies in the conversations she sparked. Whether on immigration, education, or national identity, she forced people to think deeply about the kind of country they wanted to live in. Even those who disagreed with her could not ignore her. She commanded engagement, and in a media world saturated with noise, that is no small feat. Behind her success was a discipline forged over decades of work. Hosting a nightly show demanded stamina, intellect, and emotional resilience. She prepared meticulously, often immersing herself in research before every broadcast. The result was commentary that felt both spontaneous and informed. That level of preparation became part of her signature. Viewers could sense that she wasn't simply reading talking points, she was thinking in real time, processing events through a mind sharpened by both education and experience. The timing of her departure may also reflect her sensitivity to cultural cycles. Every broadcaster faces a moment when their message begins to echo within a saturated environment, and Ingraham may have recognized that the next phase of her career required a new platform. It takes courage to leave while still at the top, but that courage has always been one of her defining traits. She has never been afraid to challenge expectations, whether in her political commentary or her career decisions. The emotional response from her audience was telling. Social media platforms lit up with messages of gratitude and disbelief. Fans recounted moments when her words had inspired them, challenged them, or given them hope. In an age when public trust in media is at historic lows, the authenticity of that response speaks volumes. Her audience did not see her as a distant television figure. They saw her as an ally, someone who understood their struggles and aspirations. That kind of relationship cannot be manufactured. It is earned through years of consistency and sincerity. Even among her colleagues, there was acknowledgement that her presence had elevated the standards of discussion. Her ability to remain composed under pressure, to defend her position with both logic and conviction, made her a formidable presence on air. She brought a sense of gravitas that balanced the performative energy of modern television. Her demeanor reminded viewers that passion and civility could coexist, a rare quality in today's media ecosystem. As she steps away from the Fox News stage, one imagines that Laura Ingraham is far from finished with public life. Her career trajectory suggests someone who views influence not as a position, but as a calling. The medium may change, but the message will endure. Whether she chooses to write more extensively, launch her own digital platform, or engage in public advocacy, she possesses the credibility and audience loyalty to make any endeavor successful. The implications of her departure also stretch into the political arena. For years, she functioned as an informal advisor to conservative thought, shaping narratives that extended into campaign strategies and voter sentiments. Her ability to distill complex issues into moral imperatives helped frame debates within the conservative movement itself. Without her nightly presence, that ecosystem will need to adjust, perhaps rediscovering new voices or recalibrating its tone. But her influence will remain embedded in the discourse she helped shape. It's worth noting, too, that Ingraham's success was not purely political. She understood the emotional dimension of public life. Her commentaries often appealed to a sense of belonging and identity, emphasizing the shared values that unite rather than divide. In doing so, she built bridges between ideological factions within conservatism. Her program often served as a forum where populist and intellectual conservatives could find common ground. That balancing act is no small accomplishment, especially in a polarized era where even allies often turn on one another. Her departure, therefore, is not just a loss for a network, but for a cultural movement that relied on her ability to navigate those tensions. Few commentators could speak simultaneously to the working-class family in the Midwest and the policy analyst in Washington, yet Ingraham managed to do so with ease. She understood the language of both worlds because she respected both. Her departure may leave those audiences feeling unmoored, searching for a new voice capable of bridging the same divide. It's also significant that Laura Ingraham's career trajectory defied the conventions of modern celebrity. While others in the media often courted controversy for attention, she treated controversy as an inevitable byproduct of truth-telling. She didn't seek outrage, she sought clarity. That distinction made her both respected and misunderstood. Her critics often accused her of provocation, but those who listened closely recognized that her provocations were intellectual rather than emotional. She wanted her audience to think, not just react. In leaving Fox, she closes a chapter of institutional broadcasting but opens another of personal evolution. One can imagine her embracing a new medium that allows for longer, deeper conversations, perhaps a podcast where she can expand on ideas without the constraints of time slots or commercial breaks. Such a format would suit her perfectly, enabling her to blend storytelling, analysis, and moral reflection in ways that television rarely allows. The ripple effect of her departure also extends to the broader news industry. Competitors will inevitably study her trajectory, recognizing that her success came not from sensationalism, but from conviction. In an age when trust is currency, her ability to sustain credibility over decades is a lesson for anyone in media. Her career demonstrates that influence is built not on noise but on authenticity, on the willingness to say what one believes, even when it costs something. It is also striking to consider the thematic consistency of her career. From the beginning, Laura Ingraham's message has revolved around the preservation of American culture and the defense of foundational values. Whether discussing education, national sovereignty, or faith, she approached each issue through the lens of moral order. That coherence of worldview gave her commentary lasting relevance. While the news cycle churned endlessly around her, she maintained a steady focus on first principles. Her decision to leave Fox might also reflect her understanding of timing not just in career terms, but in historical terms. America stands at a crossroads culturally and politically, and perhaps she believes her voice can now serve a different purpose. One not confined to nightly news but directed toward shaping the intellectual foundation of the next phase of conservatism. In that sense, her departure is not withdrawal but repositioning for greater impact. The public's fascination with her move reveals how deeply intertwined media and identity have become in modern America. Viewers no longer simply consume content, they form attachments to personalities who articulate their worldview. Laura Ingraham became more than a host. She became a representation of a certain moral and cultural confidence that many Americans felt was under siege. Her leaving Fox doesn't end that connection, it simply transforms it. If anything, her exit may reignite interest in what it means to be a public intellectual in the 21st century. She has always balanced accessibility with sophistication, never underestimating her audience's intelligence. She treated her viewers not as passive recipients of information, but as partners in a moral and political conversation. That respect fostered loyalty deeper than mere fandom. It built a community of shared purpose. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us? What are your thoughts on Laura Ingraham leaving Fox News? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.